There we are. We're live. Happy Friday. Good morning. How is everybody? Welcome to RE Journal's Breaking Through the Disruption webinar series. Since I said happy Friday, I figured out what day of the week it was. We're going to do a quick poll. So on the right-hand side of your screen, if you're watching this online, you have polls and chat room. I'm going to publish a poll quick, and here's how it goes. How many times have you had to seriously wonder what day of the week it is since COVID-19? And the first answer, many. The days blur together, and I often can't recall. I have to admit, I found myself doing that once in a while. None. I have a handle on it. I have an internal clock that beats like a drum. Or the last answer is, what day is it? So pop in there and answer that question for me, and then we'll get started here. Oh, go back. So this is us, RE Journals, Breaking Through the Disruption webinar series. We're trying to do 2 of these a day to help you bridge the gap between working from home or coming into the office and not having access to the information you used to have. So we'll be here. Watch for us. We've got a lot of good upcoming topics. The first thing I want to do is thank these sponsors. I got to move our pictures out of the way as I do this. Bankers Trust, NAI Iowa, R&R Realty Group, Herd, KW Commercial Catalyst Team, SIOR, Corfac, and then us in the corner, RE Journals. I have to stop here and say thank you to these people. We as a company are in the live event business. We also do publishing, but we were planning on doing 104 live events this year, and we value, and we know the commercial real estate industry values getting together to share information, to meet people, to talk about deals, and it really bums us out that we can't do that. But if it wasn't for sponsors like this, we wouldn't have been able to pivot into doing these webinars. So thank you, sponsors. This has been great. We've been able to at least provide the information and a few friendly faces. A couple housekeeping items. If you have connection issues, so if you see me talking right now and I freeze up, it's on your end, not mine. I'm showing 5 bars on our signal on our dedicated server, so we're good right now. If you see that, just click that red button that says reconnect. That'll fix most problems. If that doesn't work, check to make sure you're using Google Chrome. If that doesn't work, go back to, close it down, go back to the email we sent you, click on that link again, and restart it. If that doesn't work and that doesn't work, I would go to my cell phone or my tablet and try to enter it in there. So you can watch this on your cell phone too. We haven't had a lot of issues, but every event we have 2 or 3 people that get bumped around. Chat room is on your right. So pop in here and put your name in, where you're from, what company you're with, and this is where you will ask questions of our speakers. So use that chat room. You can even talk to each other. So if you say, hey, Jason, we haven't talked in a while, how are you? You can use it for that too, but also to ask questions of our speakers. Polls you already found. And this, if you get bumped off, if you want to send this to a friend, we now have our own YouTube channel. And I have a bet going with my kids that I can get up to 500 subscribers. And we're at 135 right now. So they thought it was a joke and I'd never get past 10. So I'm winning right now, sort of. But if you go on there, subscribe to our channel, you'll be able to see all of our webinars going forward, including our live events are also going to be potentially simulcast on there. So thank you for that. All right, we're going to start playing Hollywood Squares today. To the right on your screen is Jared. I'm going to let him start. And here's the question for everybody on this panel. We're 8 weeks in to COVID-19. Tell us about you, your job, and what are you doing today in your industry? What does a day look like for Jared? And we'll go around the room. So let's start. Go now.
Okay. Good morning. Jared Huseman here, KW Commercial Catalyst Team. I specialize with working with individual investors, more mom and pop type ownership groups, specifically into the multifamily world. A lot of my days have been focused on just being a resource and helping the clients understand what's going on. Done a lot of surveys for all my clients so I can stay up to date on what's happening in the rental market. There's been a lot of concern of rent collection, and we've actually done fairly well with that so far. We've actually been performing better than the national average. April, we had 91.5% rent collection, and locally, we've actually outperformed that number.
Excellent. Let's move over to Paul.
Hi, good morning. Paul Ruprecht, R&R Real Estate Advisors. That's the brokerage arm of R&R Realty Group. We're a full-service real estate company specializing in office, industrial, multifamily land. Just expanded into the Omaha market. Yeah, we've been 8 weeks into this, and really day to day just trying to gather as much information, really reaching out to our current customers, trying to partner with them and work through any issues they may have.
Okay, Hollywood Squares. Jenny, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Cooper. I'm with Bankers Trust. Bankers Trust is a privately held $5 billion bank headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa. We have offices in Des Moines, Omaha, Ames, Cedar Rapids. I see my signal's a little bit light. I manage the commercial real estate group in Des Moines, where we have investor developers and loan to office, industrial, retail, also hospitality, multifamily, and a variety of other commercial real estate groups. So my current day, we closed a loan yesterday and have got a couple more closings coming up the end of the month and early next month. So we're a little bit back to business as usual. So all good on our end.
That's great. Kevin, where do you?
Hi, good morning. I'm Kevin Crowley, NAI Iowa Realty Commercial. Iowa Realty is a 60-year-old company here in the greater Des Moines area and throughout the state of Iowa. What I've been doing in the last 8 weeks is really splitting my days, and typically I wind up on a lot of conference calls like this, or Zoom calls starting at 7:30 in the morning. I usually wind up at about 9. We're finished, get dressed, take a shower, and head to the office. And I've been spending about 6 hours a day in the office, which most of our agents are working from their home right now. So we don't really see a lot of people. We spend a lot of time socializing this way and working online. What we were talking about in the commercial real estate business, like Jenny just said that she just closed a deal this week. We've really found that the federal government really throwing all the money at the banking system and keeping confidence in our financial institutions this time around versus the downturn of 2008, that we're still doing business and closing deals. So we're more encouraged than ever. And we had a closing last week. We've had a closing this week, and we have a couple of closings scheduled, big closings this month. So we're excited about the market and have confidence in the market.
And Richard, what are you up to? Well, hit your microphone button. We can't hear you. So it's the blue one at the top of your screen. Try that now. We've all gotten really good at trying to learn technology. Can you talk again? I'm not sure we can hear you. Can anybody hear Richard?
Nope.
I can't. So,
Not yet.
Richard, we'll give you a minute to look at that, and then we'll come back to you. So that right above your head, there should be 2 blue buttons. Make sure they're both on. Can't hear you.
Try it now.
Yep. Well, Richard, hang tight. See if we can find some tech help. Here, I'll give you the, this is my helpline. I'm not a tech person. This guy is. Okay, Jenny, while we're working through this. So you're the one who's just said, hey, I closed the deal. I would have thought, how do you close a deal right now in this market? What's going on that's making things... She's closing deals right now.
I was going to say, yeah, we have a few more going on. With technology and the ability to work remotely with title companies and borrowers, and even credit approval, the bank pivoted pretty quickly to be able to, continue our daily business of loan review and approval and walking through deals. So we're really able to, I wish we could electronically sign everything, but real estate transactions, we still have to ship paper around sometimes. But for the most part, the transactions really went off without a hitch. I need a better scanner, but other than that, went pretty well.
Yeah, I wonder what happened at Office Max and Office Depot when COVID hit. I wonder how busy they got selling webcams, scanners, laptop computers. It's got to be good for them. And I suppose Amazon too.
Yeah. I'm just going to add to what Jenny
Yeah,
said.
go ahead.
Is that our company actually created a drive-through closing for our Midland escrow company, and so literally our employees will go out. They have gloves on, they have masks, and they have clipboards with all the documents that need to be signed, and it's actually been really successful. I mean, we're probably closing about 10 to 15 houses a day, and it's just amazing that this drive-through closing has just been a home run.
Say that again. You drive up. They hand you a clipboard.
People drive up to our office door in the parking lot. They're handed a clipboard with all the documents. The person's gloved up, masked up, and literally they can go through the document with them documents, and they can, everything's red tabbed, and so where they have to sign. And it's just really been successful because you can DocuSign a lot of things, but Jenny, in our courthouses have not accepted electric signatures on deeds, and so it's just been a real pain. But it's just life that we're dealing with right now.
Do you get those notarized then? Is the person coming to the car a notary?
The person that goes out to the car is a notary. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, they're part of our escrow team. Mm-hmm.
How would you get a new notary license today, though? That would be tough. So
that's really tough. Right now it's hard to get a real estate license. The testing facilities closed down, and they're taking, I think it's for late May, they're finally taking applications to sign up for a test. And I think you're just going to go in the testing facility and do the test alone.
Well, I want to stay with Richard. Try talking again, just in case we can hear you. Yeah, I can't hear him. Boy, I've texted my team. They're going to be contacting you. They'll help you out, get through this, and then you'll be talking the whole last half an hour. Well, let's stay with loans just for a second. The lending world, capital markets. Is anybody on here closed a loan outside of a bank? Has anybody closed a life insurance company loan, a CMBS loan, anything like that? Seen those go?
Yeah, we just did a deal last week that was actually out of state money, and it was CMBS money, and the CMBS lender came through. Nice. And it was dicey, but we got it done. And again, I think it's because the Feds just infused so much capital that there's still confidence in the system. And the buyer was a deep pocket credit also.
That helps, right?
Yeah,
anybody, have you had any issues, Jenny, maybe to you on appraisal values coming in? Have that taken a ding? Has that been some of the hair on these?
No, not in the property types we've been doing it. They've been primarily industrial deals. So, and with the leasing that's in place, and that, factor, we haven't had any changes in cap rate or any other adjustments for value. I'm sure if we were looking at a retail deal today, that may be a different story. But with industrial, that's the values have hung in there. And a lot of the appraisals too were completed, early April, mid-April. So as times change, I'm sure there'll be adjustments.
I had heard early on that some appraisers were just making a 20% blanket reduction for COVID-19. And that just sounds like a horror story for collapse of being able to get loans done. Sounds like, though, that's not been the case.
Well, I did have an appraiser call me about a hospitality property and a new project to build a new hotel.
Okay.
And I wasn't overly positive for him because that's a tough type of project to take off right now, considering where that.
Was that a loan you were contemplating making?
No, the appraisers call other banks in terms of rate and would we do the loan today? I mean, it's truly a market issue of would you entertain a new hospitality loan? And my answer was at probably less than a 50% loan to value and with extremely liquid guarantors. That'd be the only way to be able to get it done. Mm-hmm. Extremely liquid.
It's better than nothing.
Well, and if my credit guy was on here, that may be a different answer, but that's the only way. That's the only one I'd push through or even try to.
We won't send him the recording then. We'll have to just put him on our blacklist temporarily.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on to real estate as it stands. So especially you guys that are brokers. Let's start with office real estate. So have we hit a point now, 8 weeks in, some of you are at home, some of you are in the office. Have we gotten used to working at home? Or are we going to see wholesale changes in the office market? Anybody that wants to take it, just chime in.
Well, I mean, I'll chime in. Obviously, we were forced. We had a health crisis, and so a lot of employers were forced to send their employees home, and really kind of a scary deal. And I think really it was to minimize the impact. And for the most part, I think most people succeeded given the current situation. But in talking to a lot of our customers, I know a lot of them are anxious to get back as well too. And for the most part, people just want to feel safe, and that's expected. So it's really going to be about providing that safe environment in the office setting. And really, what we're doing, it's going to all be about healthy buildings. It's all about cleaning and disinfecting, and the frequency, and meeting or exceeding CDC guidelines. Touchless is going to be big, and we're implementing a lot of those things as well, especially in restrooms, and technology with touchless doors being able to open. Air quality, that's certainly a big buzzword as well too, and air filtration with upgrading filters, UV light, could be humidity control, inspections on the ductwork. But also, the other part of that is fresh air and just air dilution. And the funny thing about air dilution is bringing fresh air in. Well, in Iowa, where the climate changes quite a bit, if you're bringing in 30-degree air and you've got to warm that to 70 degrees and then exhaust that air out and bring in more 30-degree air, obviously that's going to take more energy, and certainly cost is going to come into play from that standpoint. So the other big thing is, isolation and social spacing, and there's talk about de-densification and allowing for people to have a little bit more spacing. So it could mean a change in workstations, staggering at cubicles, maybe walls going up. Even hearing of people, there's companies maybe even putting in phone apps where they track employees' movements and be able to, giving like scoring on to see that people are practicing safe social distancing.
So expand on the cleaning part for a second. A lot of people are asking and wondering, how do you figure out even what rules to follow? The CDC guidelines seem to be sort of vague. Have you relied on your cleaning companies to do that, or is that how do you figure that out?
So we've been in business for 35 years, and we've got a good sense of what that is. But it's also listening to your customers, and so we're out talking to the customers and what they feel safe. And I think you're going to get a wide variety of that. You're going to get a range of that, and we're going to do probably exceed those guidelines like we usually do, and make sure we're listening to our customers, that we're meeting their needs. So that's how we're going to handle it.
Somebody commented on here, Jeff Daniels, everybody gets a window office. So is everything going to be reconfigured now? And is that going to drive up demands for space, or what might happen with tenant demand?
It's funny that he's talking about tenant demand right now, or you're asking about tenant demand. I think that people may have to take some more space. We have 2 clients that are actually in expansions right now. And luckily, one of them had just built brand new office space. They moved 1/3 of their capacity into that space for safe distancing. And then they kept all their temporary space, again, for safe distancing. And then they're going to have 1/3 of their workforce work from home. And I was with another client yesterday, and they're kind of in the same mode as that they're going to expand by about 20,000 feet and probably have 1/3 of their workforce in their existing office, another part of their workforce in this expansion space, and then everybody else working from home until it's safe to actually come in and work together.
I've seen these backpacks that look like Ghostbusters from 1984. I see that Richard just popped out. My team's trying to get a hold of him. I hope that they can work this out, because we want to be able to hear from Richard. So has anybody else had that experience? I feel like it's back to Ghostbusters, and Dan Aykroyd is going to show up at your door pretty soon with a mister.
Well, Paul, there's a couple of the companies here in town. There was a janitorial company here in Des Moines that actually patented a spray for doors that I think Perel bought that literally is supposed to be, longer acting cleaner, so that a door that normally gets dirty can have
Sure.
multiple touches before it's dirty again. So I don't know if I think that Purell bought that product, so I'm sure they're selling it by the barrel full.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at all those options as well too, because we know that's going to be important to our customers as they re-enter here into the office buildings. Absolutely.
All right, I see Richard's microphone's on and his webcam's on. Say something we can validate.
We'll see how
we
the
go.
technology works this time. We've
Hey,
done a lot of these. I don't know what happened here, but
I don't know if you all know Dr. Dotzer. He's an economist for real estate. He's a pretty popular guy. We
Sure.
had 4,000 people on a webinar, and he had more technology issues in that 1 hour than I've had all season doing this. So, Richard, you're not in last place by any means. You're doing great. So, so we'll go back to Richard. Introduce yourself. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but tell us what you're working on these days.
Richard Hurd Real Estate. We are a developer and investor, and we have a number of retail properties. So we've had a lot of impact from this, last probably 4 to 6 weeks, and we're pretty much past all the initial stage ramifications of that. Now we're kind of in the rebuilding and reopening phase. So it's been quite a ride, but we've been in business. Well, next year will be our 40th year. So we've had a few ups and downs over the time period that we've been in business, and we'll survive it, but it's been pretty turbulent for the retail world.
Well, let's stay on retail then. We talked about office, and anybody else can jump in too. But boy, when I was on spring break when this hit, and we went to dinner the next 2 nights, but I had eerie feelings that this was going to really change retail real estate. So walk us through how you're feeling right now. Is retail going to find a way to bounce back and room for optimism, or is it going to be a bumpy ride for a while?
Well, retail will definitely survive, and it will be different than what we have known as traditional retail, I believe, in the future. But there's definitely a place for physical retail. There will be multi-channel retailers, different types of delivery systems. Obviously, we've seen a lot of curbside and home delivery going on during the COVID crisis. That'll probably persist. We'll see maybe smaller footprint stores where the retailers will offer less product in store and deliver other things directly to your home, or have it available for pickup. But retail as a class will survive. It's just a matter of the right sizing of the product to the marketplace. I think that's what we're going to go through. That's going to be the next phase of retail.
Jared and I were talking a little before, and he made a comment that I've been making for a while. My wife went shopping, and she's like, I love shopping. It is absolutely one of my favorite things to do, and I hate it right now. But she can't wait to get back to a normal shopping experience. Might that help hold some of these industries up? The fact that people are dying to get out of their house and do something? Anybody? Jared, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think Richard's talked about this before a little bit, but I think people are going to come out. The question is how are they going to come out? Are they going to come out wearing masks, social distancing, et cetera? Iowa's been one of the fastest growing COVID cases recently here, so that's kind of been bumpy for us. But I know Richard's talked before that retail's been changing for 20 years, and I think it's going to continue to change. This COVID is just accelerating what's already been happening in the market for office, for retail for 20 years. We're just having to adapt to it much faster now in a matter of 8 weeks as opposed to maybe 2 or 3 years. So I think there's going to be a way for retail and office and all the sectors to move forward. It's just a question of what that's going to look like. In terms of reopening, I can say it seems like the pulse of the market is everybody's dying to get out. The question is just that what that's going to look like in the health terms, and social distancing and masks. That's going to be the CDC requirements. I think people are going to come out. If they cancel the Iowa State Fair, I think there'd be a riot in Iowa here. So we'll see how that comes into things. But people are going to come back out, and they're going to want to spend money still.
Yeah, the state fairs and stuff are going to be tricky for the governors to allow. That'll be interesting. And Minnesota, they've already said, don't get your hopes up. So I think there will be a rebound. I like that, but you're right, Jared. It might be soft. Let's talk about. Go ahead.
One thing you and I were talking about before we started here, I think, is right now everything's being propped up in the market with all of the CARES Act and the trillions of dollars by the Fed pumped in. The question, I think, is, in my opinion, isn't necessarily the second quarter. It's going into the third and fourth quarter, coming into the fall. I think that's really the question of what's going to happen. Once we push through this, real estate's still a lagger for most of the general economy. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what real estate values do and where we're at coming into the fall. I think that's going to be the real deciding factor.
Yeah, you sort of pivoted for me, but I want to talk about or ask you all about rent rolls. So how are rent collections going from either your clients, or what are you seeing in the market? Anybody that wants to start, feel free.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one. So obviously, we have quite a few customers and tenants in our buildings, and we've reached out to a lot of them, and some have obviously reached out to us. And so there has been some working with them. We know it's tough times for everybody. Percentage wise, if you look at the national average, what we're seeing, we're probably below that as far as having to work out any sort of rent reliefs. But it's important for us to partner with our customers, and we're doing that. We have been and continue to do that.
For the multifamily sector, I released a rental survey to all of my clients in April, and in the first week of April up to April 8th or so, 66% of the respondents had collected 80% or greater of their rent for apartments. As of today, for May, 76.2% of respondents have collected 80% or greater of rent for multifamily. So for multifamily, it's actually very robust. I talked to 2 owners this week. They have over 500 units between the 2 of them. They were at 99% collection rates already for May. So multifamily's been very strong for rent collection.
And Jared, what's the government forgiveness on that right now? They forgave, or they said that you can't evict anybody. Was that for April, May, and June?
So yeah, the rent moratorium for Iowa here is still in place until I believe May 28th right now.
Okay.
But most landlords have been pretty adamant on talking. They've been very robust in talking to their tenants, like all of us. But most tenants have realized that I'm stuck at home right now, and if I don't pay my rent coming after this moratorium, then I'm going to be evicted still. And they're stuck at home, so they have nowhere else to go. So, kind of back to Maslow's hierarchy of laws, food, shelter, water, top 3. Most people have been, from what I've seen, paying their rent and taking that into account. Food, shelter, water as the top 3 places their income's going.
Jared, you get an A+ for best speaker ever for bringing up the order of laws. I hadn't heard that, and I've done a lot of these. That's an awesome comment, and really speaks to how important housing is. We got a question here from Cooper Wilson. We got to backtrack to answer it, but I think it's important. What are your thoughts in regards to tenant amenities within real estate, gyms, common areas? Will things ever be reopened, or are we going to have to rethink how we're doing amenities?
I think that's just going to be a challenge that landlords are going to have to deal with on an individual basis, and depending on how heavily those facilities were used. So, cleanliness is definitely going to be an issue, but until we know where we are with this disease over, the next quarter to 6 months, I'd say that a lot of public areas are going to be, closed off, just like you see a lot of, seating areas in fast food restaurants or whatever closed off right now. I think we're going to continue to deal with that.
I would certainly agree. I think, obviously a lot of short-term decisions have been made, and I think we have to be careful that, just because they're short-term decisions, they may not be the best long-term decisions. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be changes. This is clearly going to cause changes in our industry, but it's really just communicating with the customer to find out what the customer wants, and then evolving and adjusting those amenities to make sure that they meet those requirements.
Good. Let's bring it back to rent rolls then. And Jenny, I want to hear from you. What are lenders hearing from their borrowers on current loans and having discussions about rent rolls and what to do about them?
Very much so. We the first week of the shutdown, we made a pointed effort to reach out to every client and talk to them about their property and what was going on and what they were expecting to happen. I spent a lot more time on loan modifications and deferring payments for 90 days to 6 months, especially on multifamily and retail properties, with the expectation that rent deferments were coming down the pike pretty quickly. Those have all been documented. We, so currently anyway, office and industrial seems to be hanging in there. We do think that multifamily may become an issue once the bonus unemployment runs out, and if the state has monies for rental assistance, they aren't releasing that money yet, and then will go away. So we're kind of looking at that timing to say, okay, when will multifamily rents take a hit? If unemployment stays as high as it is, we just think it might be coming.
To tie off that, what Jenny just said there, that's what I think also the key for multifamily is that's why I mentioned earlier that the third and fourth quarter, I think once we see this PPP run out, we see some of the falling of the stimulus monies, and we see the fallout of where businesses are at. There's going to be some layoffs coming out after PPP and some furloughs. And that's, I think, where we're going to see multifamily, take some hits for vacancy for our market. I think it'll be in the fall. So I agree with Jenny on that.
I agree.
Well, let's talk about that aid. I want to go to Richard. Have a lot of your tenants been applying for and getting the PPP? Sorry, there's PPP and PPE going on right now. And have you been able to sort of use that as leverage? Hey, go get this PPP loan and make sure you pay your rent on time.
Well, I think what we experience is that almost every smaller retail tenant we have has applied for and received PPP. And that's helped our collections, because once they receive PPP, they typically pay their rent with it as well as their employees. So it's been a real plus. Now the question is going to be in July, August, September, when that's all burn off. And, you've already heard about some companies say that, well, we're keeping people on board because we're in the PPP program. Our collections have actually been quite good, but I'm a little bit hesitant to say that they'll remain that way, just because we don't know once things open how the performance will be. People's habits change. Lots of people may not return to their old habits right away. The cost to gear back up for these retailers and restaurants is expensive. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I think, fortunately for us, we have a lot of tenants that are in the protected class. So we own a lot of grocery, convenience, and pharmacy, and those classes have been open and performing. So, that group they're the stars of the retail world. And so we don't see anything changing there, but it's our apparel retailers and that group that's been closed that we're going to have to keep an eye on, as well as the local restaurant groups that only may have one or two restaurants, and it's going to be it could be a little bit challenging for them going forward.
So let me ask you this. I don't know if you have hair salons in your portfolio, but everybody that I talk to is desperate for a haircut. But are they going to be comfortable enough to go get a haircut? So what about that in shopping? Is it going to be a mixed bag that we get when we reopen? Is that what you're hearing?
Well, we don't have any hair salons and as tenants, but I think that just demand is there. People will get past it. They'll return to those types of uses probably pretty quickly. I think the thing that's really the question is the things that are really more selective. I mean, people have to buy food. They need to buy gas. They need to, give any type of medical. That'll return quickly. Your dentists and medical and the hair care is in that group, I would say. The question will be, will people return to the restaurants and those types of facilities as quickly as we need? And also to the retailers. People for the last 6 weeks have been buying a lot online, and they change their habits, and we'll have to see. The multi-channel retailer will have to be, that's the wave of the future, and they'll have to be in that category in order to survive. I mean, there's just no question about it.
Well, I think everybody wants to talk about reopening, and this panel of Hollywood Squares hasn't been any different. You all pivoted naturally towards reopening, but what are some of the issues? Let's go to Kevin here. What are some of the issues coming out of this that we need to watch out for?
Well, when we really get back to work and it's going to be to see if we have a dead cat bounce on COVID hitting people, or if COVID comes back hard, then we're going to really have a lot of issues, and we'll go back to sheltering in place, which is not really the best way to go. So, as far as our return to work and reopening, it's really going to be all about how safely we can do that. Employers have liability. I mean, I've sat through any number of webinars with law firms and CPA firms talking about what we all need to be doing. And a lot of our organizations have put out going back to work memos, and there's just going to be a lot of challenges as this moves forward.
Just to tie off what Kevin just said, I think he hit a point that's not being talked about enough, or starting to be talked about, is the liability reopening. I think we need to address that. There's going to be some civil action lawsuits. There's going to be some insurance claims. There's going to be a lot of issues opening up, and a lot of liability on owners, businesses, insurance companies. So I think that's an issue we need to address as well and be aware of.
Yeah, good point. Are people afraid to let us reopen? I think if anybody was looking at the headlines this morning about Georgia, that at least seems like you can't trust the press 100% anymore, but right, it's sad. Like, what does this world come to? But that Georgia isn't the reopening, that people aren't coming out of their houses. So the retailers are saying, hey, this is great, we got to open, but sales are meh.
Yeah, this has been a very strange thing now. It's almost like people are dividing into camps, and that they're the stay-at-home people and they're not going to come out. They don't feel safe. They're the people that want to, the other extreme is that they want to go out and kiss each other and hug. So, it's really interesting to watch how this is happening and how people are divided on what is or isn't safe. Employers are going to be dealing with, if somebody doesn't want to come back to work, are they going to fire them, or are they going to work with them, or what are they going to do? So there are a lot of challenges coming in, probably the next 30 days or less.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. Clearly we're in a health crisis, and rightfully so. We've got to get right, but we have an economic crisis as well too, and this thing is going to be a marathon. You're going to see us, unemployment levels obviously is our way up and clawing our way back out, and we cycle all the time, and this was just bound to happen to cycle down. So climbing out of this economic recession is going to be a challenge for a lot of people.
We've got a question here from Jeff Daniels regarding liability, saying it would be difficult or impossible to prove where one contracted COVID. So how can you pin it on one location? I used to think that too. And now watching, maybe some of you have seen this too, that these governors want to play it like a game of whack-a-mole. So a case pops up. They want to find out everybody you've talked to and test every one of those people and been around and see if they can't trace these back to their sources. Has anybody else heard the same kind of thing?
Yeah,
I've been seeing cell phone technology with Google and Apple. They've been working together to try to keep locations and following that. But I think for liability, it's not just about contracting COVID. I think Paul hit on it too. It's what if people don't want to come back to work? What if they don't feel safe? That's a liability issue as well. So I think liability is more than just COVID itself. It's the issue surrounding COVID.
And so I can answer Jeff's question a little bit. We had a client who literally Monday sent us an email saying that I've contracted COVID. I talked to him on Wednesday, and he explained to us that one of their younger employees that probably wasn't doing the best safe practices actually was the one that brought COVID in the office and infected 4 of their other employees. And so that person was sick first, 4 of their employees got sick, and then they've all gone home to be sick, and now family members have been sick. So it's really easy to see how simply this thing can spread really by someone being careless. So it's really, that's the scary part of this, is you just don't know, somebody you're working with, where they've been yesterday or the night before, or, over the weekend. So that's how simple that can be.
Well, what's always true is that person who maybe was careless, but they contracted it from somebody else who maybe was careless. The
Exactly.
chain is forever long. Traces back to China, perhaps, but it'll be interesting to see. And then if you can have liability for that. I want to pivot to, we've only got 19 minutes left, and I want to save some time for more questions. But I'm a real estate person. I'm not looking backwards, right? There's no sense. I'm looking forwards. Where does anybody see opportunities right now to either just be better than your competition, or are there going to be buying opportunities? What's the future look like? Anybody jump in? Richard, would you go on a buying spree to try to pick up some distressed stuff if it were there?
Oh, we're still active. We closed 2 acquisitions this week. So, we're still out doing what we do. The question is, are the opportunities there? And it's like any time, you have to just look and be diligent about trying to find things that work for what you're trying to accomplish. We have a lot of properties under contract to sell right now. We have about $100 million worth of properties under contract for sale. And my guess is over half of those will not close for various reasons. Some of it's development land, some of it's just because of the environment. It may be that people get nervous, lenders get nervous, whatever. We do not have a lot of properties under contract to purchase. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. A typical year for us, we would sell in excess of that and buy in excess of that. And this year we won't get close. Our transactional volume will be way off this year, just due to what's going on. It's just not viable to think that we can do that much volume. And of course, a lot of that volume's in other states. So, we're in 12 states, and some of it occurs in those states. And I think that Iowa is probably a little more stable environment than some of the other states that we own properties in. So that bodes well for the Des Moines and the Iowa market in general, quite frankly.
The industrial market is, they're poised pretty well to reemerge. They were doing well pre-COVID and probably positioned pretty well to continue to expand. So, obviously e-commerce will probably continue to grow. Companies may continue to maybe grow more inventory. There's some chatter out there about onshoring or, shortening supply chains and that sort of thing. But I think industrial looks positive moving forward.
And I think talking off that, multifamily, we're doing pretty well right now. First quarter we saw average price per unit, give or take $47,010 per unit, $83.49 per square foot. We've only had a couple of sales, so volume's fallen off drastically since COVID here, but we're still, $85.02 a square foot, $52,380 price per unit. So multifamily, just like industrial, is weathering the storm well. There will be opportunities, I think. But there's opportunities in any market. Going up, going down, there's always opportunities. You just have to address, some of the issues and do your due diligence.
All right, I got follow-up questions. So going back 3 speakers. So I'm going to go back to Paul first and industrial. So you said onshoring. Does that mean, so you're saying manufacturing might get a bump? will that be new construction or a retrofit, or where do you think it's going to hit in Iowa?
You know, that's a good question, and you know, I think I don't know if necessarily the onshoring will affect the Des Moines market as much as maybe shortening supply chains could affect the Des Moines market. I mean, you're seeing that already with Amazon and growing their footprint here in Des Moines. So from that standpoint, but I don't know about onshoring directly affecting Des Moines immediately.
But you all are ramped up to do the supply chain stuff, right? So you can move goods in and out well and have infrastructure.
2 interstates collided, 3580, great. I mean, we're positioned very well from that standpoint.
Richard, backtracking a little bit to retail and pricing. So I saw the comment on here that pricing is a big deal, and you said it's too. But so if you have properties for sale, I assume you're looking at what the pricing was pre-COVID, and the buyers are saying, hey, there's got to be some kind of adjustment. Is that what's going to maybe lead to less volume?
No, I mean, there's a major bifurcation of the market. So the quality product, the cap rates are holding steady or going down, and the product that's not quality or not preferred, the cap rates are going up. We fortunately have a lot of properties that fall into the high quality category, so we have people trying to buy them from around the country. So those are the ones that we're looking at selling. The lower quality properties, and we own some of those too, don't get me wrong. Nobody's really interested in buying those right now. So I think you have to look at it that the market's changed. It was headed that direction. I think Jared may have touched on this a little while ago, and it isn't just in people's habits as far as consumer shopping. It's also in investors' habits about what they will buy and what they will pay for the product that they're buying, and what they, what they feel that the value is, and the expectation to receive a return, and what that return needs to be based upon the risk model. And so if you have a high quality tenant with a long-term lease, the cap rate on that is much, much lower than maybe a lower quality tenant with a short-term lease. And we've been going through that for a while. Anyway, it's just been accelerated now.
Great point.
I see Jenny's bumping in and out. So Jenny, hit your webcam button because I got a question for you. Otherwise, there we go.
Here she is.
Back.
There we go.
Froze up.
Yeah, unfortunately, the internet's a busy place these days, especially in people's homes. I want to ask you real quick, and maybe you don't want to share inside info, but we're looking for opportunities. Are there opportunities going to present themselves post-COVID? Are there things in your bank's loan portfolio or customers you know of that may be distressed, and will there be distressed opportunities?
Through this first round of underwriting, to look at being able to defer, for a 6-month window, most of the properties were margined correctly, both by debt coverage and by loan to value, to really be able to withstand a 6-month window. If we head into a second wave, that margin will shrink up pretty quickly, potentially. So it's all about timing now, I think, where if we get back to some level of normal, some level of, especially in the hotel sector, I think that's probably got a little more risk than retail. But if retail can get back to some level where tenants are back to paying rent, repaying what rent deferrals they do get into 2021, I think we'll be okay. So it's a kind of time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Kevin, any thoughts on where opportunities might be as we recover?
Yeah, as we go in the recovery, I think there will be some opportunities, and it's really going to be probably on somebody else's misfortune. But as Jenny was saying, it really just depends on really what happens in the next 90 days to 6 months as to what we're really going to see in terms of opportunities. But the hotel sector, travel sector is really going to get hit. Des Moines, a convention town, we're going to be losing. Our restaurants are going to be suffering from that, and a lot of those restaurants are going into a fight with one arm tied behind the back because they're really going to be allowed to have 50% of their volume, with people sitting in the restaurant. So they're going to have a tough time for the next 6 months or so until the country comes out with the government comes out or somebody comes out with a immunization shot or a monthly an annual shot like a flu shot.
I think one thing we haven't talked about really too is just that we need to also address there's a lot of uncertainties, not just 90 and 180 days out, but in 6 months from today we have an election. I mean, we're going to have potentially the same president or we're going to have a new president, but that's going to create a lot of uncertainty in the market, I think, for the next 9 months until 2021. So I see transactions being low for this next 9 months, but with uncertainty comes opportunities. Now, what that looks like, again, I think that's still too early to tell. I think as Kevin alluded to, the next 3 months will be telling.
I'm going to do a quick poll, and I haven't done this one before. So everybody, all our panelists, let's have you answer. And then everybody that's online. So if you're one of the 100 or so people that's logged in and watching, you guys can use the chat room. But I'm going to go Las Vegas style question, heads or tails. Are we going to have a big bounce or comeback of COVID in the fall? Because it seems like a lot hinges on that. So let's just go, again, Hollywood Square style. Jared, you first.
Yes, I think the cases are going to continue to rise. I think more people are infected with COVID than we actually know, though. So I think, yes, we're going to have a rise of cases, but I think it's just going to be realizing this is a bit more broad than we all realized.
Okay, Paul?
Well, kind of what Jared said. I mean, I think with all the new testing going on, I think you're going to see a bump because of the testing.
Jenny?
Unfortunately, I do think there's going to be a continued bounce. It depends on, how we reopen. We have to figure out a way to function and open safely for everyone. But unfortunately, I do believe it's going to continue into the fall.
Richard?
Well, I think it's really a difficult balance between public health and economic health of our country. So I don't envy the decision makers, the politicians that have to decide what we do and how we do it, because if they're wrong one way or another, we're either going to have a bigger health crisis or we're going to have a bigger economic crisis. And it's really a balancing act. I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen this fall. I think there's a chance that it gets bad again or we have a reoccurrence, but the big question is, between now and then, what can we do to try to stabilize? Because if we have another bounce in the fall, it's going to be really difficult. It's a $23 trillion economy in the U.S. and the federal government cannot carry us. I mean, PPP and all these programs, they're too dramatic. They're too expensive. And keep in mind, the government is us. So if we're not working, we're not paying them. And they're trying to pay everybody else right now. So it's a circular issue. And I just really hope we don't have another COVID issue this fall, because it'll be really dramatic. And Jared has a good point. The election usually is what we're talking about this time of year. And who knows who our president will be going into 2021.
Richard, I'm glad you brought up that cyclical point. That's what worries me the most too, is that Mitch McConnell is, I don't know if you follow, I don't follow Iowa as much as I do some other states, but in Minnesota, our Office of Management and Budget came out and said we went from a $1.5 billion surplus to a $2.5 billion deficit overnight, $4 billion lost from the state's income. But states can't operate in a deficit. It's part of federal law. And Mitch McConnell came out a couple of weeks ago and told states, you're probably just going to have to file bankruptcy because we don't have the money to bail you out and bail everybody else out. So I'm with you. It scares me that there's just not enough capital in the system if we have to shut down again. So Kevin,
Right.
you probably, everybody stole your thunder, but what
I was just going to say, Richard said everything I was going to say. Thanks, Herd. No, and the one thing, we've got to keep in mind. I mean, we've kind of been there before, and when probably 15 or 16 years ago, we had the H1N1 virus go around, and literally the deaths were actually higher than where we are now with COVID. And it's really interesting because our businesses and schools at that time went through the cleansing process and went through sanitizing and had better practices, and those all went away again. And so I think that there's the what are they calling it, the herd mentality, where if people get out and mingle, I think there are people that could get COVID virus and not be affected, and then there are other people that are at high risk. But we've been through this before with other diseases, and H1N1 is really the one in our lifetime that was probably as bad as this, yet the government did not react to it at all.
And by herd, he means HERD, not
Right, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was trying to give Rich a little commercial too.
Herd just answered everything.
Yeah.
We can all do well to follow Richard Herd as well as herd mentality. Okay, we got 5 minutes left. I want to do final thoughts. Now we're going to go reverse order because I feel bad for Kevin being at the end of the line clockwise. So let's go counterclockwise.
Right.
You got your shot to do 1 minute or so. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, we have had experts looking at this thing now for 4 months, and we really have no more better answers today than we did 4 months ago. And so, we're all in a learning process, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next, really, 6 months. And it's going to be, there are going to be a lot of opportunities. There's going to be a lot of challenges for all of us. But, I think at the same time, with what the federal government's done to prop up the economy, that, we're actually going to, commercial real estate's probably going to do well in most sectors, not all sectors, with obviously hospitality being the hardest hit. That's really my thoughts.
Okay. Richard, final thoughts?
Well, I think we've all experienced this for a month plus or 6 weeks. We have an opportunity to going into the summer here to try to figure out how to make it a positive for our industry. And there will be a lot of winners and losers. And unfortunately, the government programs have kind of selected some of those. And I'm not sure they did it intentionally, but there are businesses that are benefiting dramatically, and there are businesses that are suffering dramatically. And it's incumbent upon us in the real estate world to try to figure out who the winners and losers will be in terms of industry, not particularly specific businesses, and try to support them. It's going to be a sea change for everyone in business. I think it's a sea change for our economy and for our population in general, just because things will be different. There may be more people working from home. There may be lots of these things that we've touched on today in this conversation, but regardless, movement in the market is what creates opportunity. And that's what it's incumbent upon all of us to try to take a look at that and try to position our businesses to take advantages of those changes in the market.
Well said. Jenny, final parting thoughts. If you're locked up. There we go.
Nope. Can you hear? Well, that's
yep. Go for it.
Okay. So I think we're fortunate to be in a community where we have long-term relationships. I guess for our bank's position, working with our clients and trying to stick with everybody through this and doing what we can to help folks is the role we can play. So we'll continue to be there for our clients and do what we can to get us all through this current time and through the next 6 months or a year.
Paul?
The way I look at it is we're kind of right now we're in the eye of the storm. I mean, we got hit with the health crisis, and now we're kind of sitting in the eye where everybody's playing nice. We've got landlords are partnering with customers, and we have lenders are partnering with landlords, and governments print money and giving it out, but yet we've got a lot more storm yet. We've got now the economic crisis, and I think for the most part it's going to be a little bit of a marathon, but I think we're going to get through it. I think healthy buildings in real estate is going to be extremely important to get out of this. As someone once said to me, it's the end of the beginning, but it's not the beginning of the end.
Nice. I forgot to throw Jenny's slide up. So, Jared, you were first. It's fitting that you go last, but I'm going to throw Jenny's slide on too, so that people don't get confused.
So, I think just tying off what Paul just said, though, I think he hit the point in the head that we're just in the eye of the storm. I think that's a key point. I agree with that 100%. I think we still have a long ways to go to figuring this out. The one thing I can say, real estate's just a great place to be long term. Long term, real estate's going to do well. We're going to be fine. The economy has trillions of dollars that just got pumped into it through CARES Act and the Fed. That's going to probably create inflation. What a better place to be than have real estate in the face of inflation, and we will bounce back. So I think that's the key as well. And certain industries will do better. Industrial, multifamily will probably do better than else, but long-term real estate's still a place to be. This is a very short-term effect, I think, compared to the long scheme of real estate.
Well, I have to give a big, I won't say a shout outs to all of these speakers and everybody online. We all have learned to use technology in 8 weeks. We got pretty good at it. We were a little bit glitchy, but this is, our ability to now, I should just say in February, if you asked me to be on a video call, I would have said, heck no. And don't ask again, because there's no way I'm going to ever do that. And now here I am almost on a daily basis doing video calls. So props to you guys for being really good at this. This was great information. I am going to play a little commercial as we go out. I'm going to keep the chat room open. If you should have gotten everybody's email address on as it came up on the screen, but if you need contact info, your invite came from me. You can always reach out to me. I'm about a day behind on those emails, just FYI. Don't forget about our upcoming presentations. Get this up on the screen. We're not done by any means, thanks to our sponsors. We have a National Women in Real Estate event coming up next Wednesday. We're planning a multifamily event for Iowa coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. But most importantly, you can see all of our replays on rejournals.com/video replay. Speakers, you can sign off. I'm going to play a quick commercial. And thank you all. This was wonderful, and I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day, everybody.